What's good, YouTube? DM Gaming here, guys. I hope everybody's having an awesome day, man. I gotta get back to some Kakarot stuff, guys, because unless you've been living under a rock, Dragon Ball Daima has been on fire, and there's gonna be some spoilers in this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, click away now. You can always come back later because I am going to talk about some of the most recent stuff in Dragon Ball Daima and how that's going to affect Dragon Ball Z Kakarot going forward. So if you are new to the channel, don't be a Poindexter. Get out the portal, click that subscribe button, the bell icon, so you don't miss a single upload. And guys, I'm excited, man. I'm excited because Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is still going strong, and even more so with this. Now, I know early on we talked about how, Dragon Ball Super was coming to Daima. And it still could be. I mean, coming to Daima. Dragon Ball Super is coming to Kakarot, and it very well could be. But it looks like they're turning a page and doing something a little different first, and they're going with Dragon Ball Daima. Now, this will be part 1, and it's not said to be a boss battle episode. This is a legit expansion, or not expansion, more or less. It's DLC. I wouldn't call it an expansion. The biggest question, first off and foremost, is this, whatever's in this DLC, is it going to be available to play in the main game? Honestly, I'm going to say it's possible. The reason why I say that it's possible is because you have to think about this. The main game ends with the Majin Buu saga. Okay, Dragon Ball Daima picks up right after the Buu saga. As opposed to, I know you're going to say, well, if you look, for example, at the DLCs that we've had for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, the World Tournament, okay, none of that's playable in the main game. Why? Because it occurred before the foundation of the game. History of Trunks occurred in a different timeline, but it occurred along with the game. Trunks' moveset, guess what? It's playable in the main game. They did carry that over. Dragon Ball Super, the Dragon Ball Super content, or the Fukasu no F, as well as the Battle of God stuff, that carried over. The transformations for those did carry over into the main game. So we do get to play that in the main game, which is really, really cool and exciting. So, with this occurring after the timeline, it's possible. It's very well possible. Also, spoiler alert, Goku, as we know, watching Dragon Ball Daima, both he and Vegeta do utilize the Super Saiyan 3 transformation. Super Saiyan 3 is already in the game for Goku. So will that come? It's possible. It's very well possible. And then, in case you've been living under a rock, spoiler alert, so click away. Super Saiyan 4 has also come to Dragon Ball Daima. Will this be a part of the main game? I don't know. But nevertheless, it's going, we're getting all of this in Dragon Ball Daima. Now, the first part 1 is going to cover episodes 1 through 8, which is that episode 8 is when Goku faced off against the first Tamagami. And that's cool. That's cool. He goes Super Saiyan 2, does an awesome Kamehameha wave, but we don't see him as Super Saiyan 3 at this point in the DLC. Now, as far as the DLC structure, one thing that I do like that they're kind of going back to is being able to fly around, having air combat and things like that. What I'm wondering, is it going to be a mixture of air combat and ground combat? Dragon Ball Z Kakarot hasn't combined the two. When you play in the World Tournament, you're fighting on the ground, you can't fly. In the other DLCs, you're able to fly, and there hasn't been a DLC yet. I was really wondering with the DLC against Oob, would they combine the two into the same fight? For example, I can choose to fight on the ground or I can choose to fight in the air. They haven't done that yet. And I'm wondering, when will they do that to make... that's going to add so much more depth to the combat system. But the way that the game is structured, there's a completely different fighting system and moveset for the characters that fight on the ground than the ones that fight in the air. So is it possible for them to do it? Heck yeah, it's absolutely possible. It's all coding. But I don't know if they're going to do it or not. I'm super excited to be able to play this DLC because it's going to be similar to the main game. For example, if you look at Beerus's planet, you're only on Beerus's planet, you know, and then yeah, you can go back to Earth, but you're limited to one area. As we know from watching Dragon Ball Daima, there's 3 different parts of the demon world. You have the 1, 2, and 3. So it's very well possible that these worlds, the like Demon World 1, Demon World 2, Demon World 3, they're gonna be really, really expansive, and you're gonna be able to. Well, I am not gonna say we're gonna be able to go through either one we want, because even in the show, they are only specified to go to a certain one at a time. So that could very well be locked off. But expect the area from which we play in this demon world to be expansive, to be explorable. I don't see it being as tight as, say, like Beerus is playing it, but I think it'll be expansive in the sense of maybe like the mountains. The mountains were pretty expansive. Playing on Earth where we fought Frieza, it wasn't a lot of space to fly around at. And even Planet Vegeta, when we played in the Bardock DLC, wasn't very expansive as well. This could be very different. And then I'm wondering, are they going to utilize the power of the PlayStation 5 in this as well? Since, you know, Kakarot does have a PlayStation 5 release. Is there going to be different content for it? I don't think it will, but you never know. But starting out with episodes 1 through 5, there's a lot of story element to it as opposed to fighting. Goku doesn't really fight that much. Now we know we're going to be fighting goons. We're going to be fighting goblins and things like that, Bob. But we're not going to be getting into the creme de la creme of the DLC. Part 1, meaning there's going to be a part 2, which will be episodes 8 through probably the remainder of Daima, since we're nearing the end anyway. And that's where the cream of the crop is going to come, and expect it to be similar, not in depth, but in scope of how you had Battle of Gods Part 1. And then you had Battle of Gods, essentially, Part 2 with Fukasu no F and then Battle of Gods. Those 2 DLCs were really a Part 1 and Part 2, if you will. Think of it in that way, where it's going to pick up where the other one left off in the same kind of DLC area, if you will. Now, I say in scope because I expect it to be bigger. You know, when we did the Battle of Gods DLC, we were limited to Beerus's planet. Like that's pretty much where everything took place. We didn't get to go back to a Earth simulation. We did in the Frieza DLC, the Golden Frieza DLC, but even that was very minuscule, if that makes sense. So expect these DLCs to be a little bit bigger. They're not like boss battle episodes. These are full-blown sagas, if you will, which is an accumulation of a bunch of smaller episodes. Now, I'm wondering what new things are going to come to the game. I say this all the time when I talk about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, but it goes every single time that each time we get a new DLC, yeah, this Goku is probably going to start from level 0. I would have thought, excuse me, I would have thought maybe it would pick up where the game left off as far as Goku's level, and it very well could, especially considering the fact that in this DLC, we'll be able to go Super Saiyan 2 with Goku. Are we going to start over as a fresh level? What is going to be the upgrading of your player and things like that? Understand the bugs that he got in Dragon Ball Daima will probably be the things that we buy from these food vendors and stuff like that. Who's going to make the meals because Chi-Chi isn't around? We've got DLCs to fix that or to handle that situation. So expect to buy your meals from these different vendors and things like that. I still would like a system in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot where we can do stuff to upgrade our power level. Like, I still say eating should just upgrade health and ki, and we should be able to train to upgrade our power levels and stuff like that. But you know, Goku doesn't train in this. We never see him training in Dragon Ball Daima. It's a very, very fast-paced anime. It's not intended to be 100-something episodes like Dragon Ball Z was, or Dragon Ball Super even. Daima is very, very short. So I expect the action to be fast. My thing is, what are you gonna put in this to hold people over until the next one comes out, until part 2 comes out, which part 1 could very well be ending its end. We could be getting ready to see part 1 drop, especially considering the fact that we're past episode 8 already in Daima. The last thing I've seen them actually work on as far as the update was back in January. Whenever we look at the dev releases and stuff like that, that was back in the 10th of January. And you see 2.2, you see them still kind of dibbling dabbling in that. They haven't started on anything after, so that means they haven't probably started on the next DLC. We see some capture stuff being removed right there. Last thing you see is like version 2.20. I can't for some reason find that older page that I used to look at on this. But other than that, they haven't, they're still updating the game. The last thing was touched about a few hours ago, 19 hours ago or so. Prior to that was 6 days. So, is that DLC coming? It's probably well on its way. When will we see it? I don't know. We haven't even seen another trailer for it. It's been a month, so we could be seeing something by the end of February, hopefully. But all in all, I'm excited for it. It's new. It brings new life to the game. Aside from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, this will be the only game where we can actually play a story of Dragon Ball Daima. It's not in any other Dragon Ball game, and that's going to elevate Kakarot to another level. You're going to have people who probably didn't buy Dragon Ball Z Kakarot buying it just to play this DLC. I can even expect them to say, hey, you need to complete the main game first before you play this DLC. As in other DLCs, we didn't have to complete the main game. It's possible that you have to here simply because Daima occurs after the main story. It makes me wonder that. And then looking at some of the comments, I love DBZ Kakarot. However, like previous DLCs, it'll take 35 to 45 minutes to beat. It'll be super easy in hard mode. It'll be overpriced. I'm wondering that, man. I'm wondering how long will this DLC be? It's a part 1, so I don't expect it to be very long. I mean, guys, Dragon Ball Daima in and of itself is only like 20 episodes maybe. It's not that long of a show or a series, so don't expect this DLC to be 7-8 hours. You get what I'm saying? And the thing that I always like, or the thing that I always want to see when it comes to DLCs, is the extra content. What more are you bringing to the game? Because hey, let's say it is only 30-45 minutes to beat, but it doesn't add any, there's no end game type stuff, then it makes the DLC null and void. And that has been the biggest issue with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, is there is no end game. And he's right. It is very easy. Kakarot is not a hard game. It's not the Dark Souls of Dragon Ball games, if you will. But it is really too easy, if that makes sense. And they did change that by making those sparkling waters and stuff harder to obtain and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, this game is intended for older fans to enjoy, but it was made to bring new people in, and they don't want it to be super difficult. They even tell you before the game ever came out that if you're skilled in combat and fighting games, then this game is going to be easy for you. And it is, it's still enjoyable. It's still super fun to play. Me personally, I wish they would do like a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot and change a lot of things, add some of those quick time events, make the game a little bit more challenging and things like that. But, anytime they add a DLC, they always add some kind of new game mechanic. So I'm interested to see what that possibly could be. All in all, I'm excited for it, guys, and we're going to follow this to the T along with other games because there's a lot of amazing games coming out. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, man, because we ain't going nowhere, baby. We back and we doing things in a big way. Super excited for Dragon Ball Z Daima. If you're excited for it, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section down below, y'all. Till next time, thanks for watching. Peace.